Welcome back, Bit Squad, to the channel. Today, I've got a very special episode 18 actually, of my podcast, Beards and Bitcoins. If you guys aren't following us, you can get it on iTunes or Spotify or SoundCloud or all of the various listening platforms. But a couple days after we do the audio version, we do release it here to YouTube. So this is a very exciting interview with Mark Moss from Market Disruptors and Signals Profits. And let me tell you, this is a phenomenal episode. I got so much out of this episode, not just as the host, but as an interviewer, is getting to talk to Mark and gain his insight on life, investing, and trading, and all the good things he had to offer. I felt like I walked away from this podcast probably getting as much out of it as you guys are going to get out of it. So I really enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. I think this was our best episode yet. So without further ado, here is episode 18 of Beards and Bitcoins.
Welcome back to your newest favorite podcast, Beards and Bitcoins, where BitBoy and J-Chains get together each week to talk about crypto and things happening in the community. They will bring you some special guests and giveaways, so make sure you're subscribed. For all show-related news, you can find the guys on various social media outlets. Everything is listed on the official show Twitter account, @BeardsBitcoins. Now, without further introduction, two dudes that have beards, like Bitcoins, and want to talk to you about both, BitBoy and J-Chains.
Hello everyone, welcome back to your favorite podcast, Beards and Bitcoins. We are on episode number 18. We got a special guest with us today we're excited about. We'll talk about that here in just a second. I am your co-host, BitBoy. That is your other co-host, J-Chains. How are you doing, man?
What is up, man? I'm doing well. It's been a great week here in Texas. I hope you have had a great week in Atlanta.
Oh yeah, ATL. It was definitely a good week here. It actually was cold this morning for the first time in several days. So, but
it's all relative. We got a bunch of Southern boys in the.
That's right.
If you're listening from up north, don't hate on us. But quick shout out to our show sponsor, HODL Fuel. You can find them on Twitter @HODLFuel or on the web, hodlfuel.com. Make sure that you drop that promo code Beards Bitcoins, because that will save you 10% on some pretty darn good coffee.
Oh yeah. Well,
I love coffee.
who doesn't, right? You know,
right.
Well, and we're also special announcement. We've got Nick from HODL Fuel and Adam from Bit Ninja Supply are both going to be on the podcast later this month. So you guys be watching out for that. So you guys will get to hear a little bit straight from the source of the coffee. But today we are so glad to be joined by my friend Mark Moss, aka Market Disruptors. He's from Signal Profits. He's doing a lot of stuff in the space. Good friend. How are you doing, Mark?
I'm doing awesome. Just stoked to be here with you guys. Love just discussing these things.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. So so Justin, I think you wanted to talk about maybe some winners, maybe some Twitter shout outs, something going on.
Oh yeah. That let's move on to the next segment really quick. We're gonna do the Monarch token crypto Twitter shout out. You can find these guys on the web at monarchtoken.io, excuse me. And on Twitter @MonarchToken. It's crypto wallet. It's pretty much any ERC20 token you can imagine, plus all the main ones loaded in there. Pretty cool features. And I know they'll be coming out with some updates and some other things coming soon. So stay tuned, and we'll kind of stick with those guys and drop some updates as things happen. So Monarch, check it out.
Yeah, I was actually on a podcast for a guest spot yesterday, Bitcoin Roundtable. So you guys be looking for my guest appearance on there. And we were talking about adoption and, kind of how we're able to spend our cryptocurrency down the road and stuff like that. And I started talking about Monarch token. I realized, every time I talk about it, it almost sounds like a commercial because, I believe in it so much, I had to be like, wait, guys, I'm not, officially sponsored by them, and this is not a commercial, but I really like what they're doing. So big shout out to Monarch.
Big shout out. So for the crypto Twitter Monarch token shout out, Mark, who would you like to shout out this week?
I would love to shout out to one of the best technical analysts in the space who's really been calling it good the last couple of weeks, and that is no other than Jacob from I Love Crypto. You got to check him out.
Yeah, I'm thinking about starting my own fan page just called I Love Jacob. Hashtag Team Jacob, right? And go kicking back to the Twilight days.
There you go. What about you, BitBoy? What are you throwing at us this week?
Yeah, so I'm actually going to shout out somebody that I don't really even know. But we did have a small Twitter exchange recently. A chart that he posted. I found it very, very useful. It was basically like talking about this. If we are in accumulation stage right now, possibly kind of looking at the chart, comparing it to the last accumulation stage in the last bear market. Leading into the bull market, which would have been 266 days. I just thought the chart was fascinating. And that's kind of something I had been looking at, was for somebody to provide me with some kind of perspective on where we are now compared to where were then. And so he's got a lot of good trading stuff on his page. It's at Moon Overlord is the guy who shared it. And I think he's definitely worth a follow. I mean, he probably doesn't need the shout out. He's got a lot of followers already. But he's definitely doing good stuff, and I've been checking out his page a lot. And so big shout out to him.
Absolutely. Good stuff coming out from Moon Overlord. Well, for this week, I am going to shout out. We just did a huge contest. So my shout out actually is going to go to our 8 winners. It was the biggest contest and giveaway that we've done so far since we started this show. We gave away, we were going to give away, 5,000 Tron, a couple bags of coffee. And then at the last minute, my man said, hey, let's get some more people involved. So we did the surprise bonus, 500 Tron, boom, 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 3 people. What's up? So all of our winners, we got Armando, Crypto Curator. We had Crypto Broski, Crypto Meanie, Catfish Crypto. I think Catfish Crypto, that's the second time.
He won some coffee back in the day.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think he won our contest from our Catfish episode.
That makes sense.
What's up with all the animals in crypto?
Man, I tell you what, it's an interesting thing. I look, big shout out to everybody that does it. Y'all do your thing. I don't get it. Like, you just take the word crypto and you add it before anything and it becomes an account, like crypto basketball jersey. There's like crypto Donald Trump. There's crypto everything. I don't know. Crypto banana, so
I do like the ones that kind of have the play on the words, like crypto fungus, like play on the word.
Wow, I'm such an idiot. I never got that until just now. I thought it was just crypto fungus, Wow.
Toe fungus.
Wow, I'm really actually pretty dumb. Wow. Okay. Let's edit. Can we edit this out? No, I'm just kidding. We'll leave it in. I'm a man of the people. I get things wrong.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. Perfect. And then the surprise bonus Tron Warners, Astro, Tusher, Crypto Banana, and
Crypto Banana. Crypto Banana. There it is, right there.
The banana and the fish.
Yeah. And also, if you guys are watching on YouTube, then you guys will actually get to see this. Of course, if you follow the podcast, you guys know we released the YouTube video a couple days after we released the audio versions, because we want you to listen to the audio versions. It's a podcast, but I do like to post them on my channel. And we are rocking our new Beards and Bitcoins freaking shirts, 3/4 sleeves, 3/4 sleeves, signature look of your boy J Chains, the 3/4 sleeve look. But you guys can actually get these shirts on my website, bitboycrypto.com. And we do have like maybe we got a website coming down the road for Beards and Bitcoins. But right now, that's where you can grab it at. Or grab them.
Yeah, get them on BitBoy's site for now. But pretty soon, there'll be a beardsandbitcoins.com site for you to get all the stuff you need.
That's right. Because right now, I'm making all the money. I'm just kidding. If you guys think selling crypto merch is a super lucrative endeavor, then I got some oceanfront property in Arizona to sell you. But so cool. Well, we've done our shout outs. We've done our intros. We've talked to our guest. So Mark, let's get into the episode. So tell us a little bit. Well, first of all, tell people where they can find you. So, we'll do that at the beginning and the end. And then give us a little bit about how you got into crypto and kind of what the goal of your presence in crypto is.
Yeah. So I'll try to keep it brief because it goes way back. I'm old like that. But so first of all, you can find me. I do. I love to just give as much education as I can, and I'm going to go into my story and why I try and just give as much education as I can. You can find me on YouTube at Market Disruptors, or you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at #1 Mark Moss. So check me out on those at #1 Mark Moss or Market Disruptors on YouTube. So I've been a professional investor for over 20 years. When I was like 18 years old, in like 1995, way back, I bought a piece of real estate. And in California, we had just come out of like the worst real estate correction we had from 89 to 92. So it was kind of right at the bottom of a bear market. And I bought a piece of real estate just to fix it up and sell it. I was so young, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have any money. I got it zero down. I didn't have money for closing costs or even to fix it up. So I brought a buddy in and we got credit cards and we did all the work ourselves. But I made a bunch of money on that house, and I rolled it over, parlayed it. And a decade later, I'm sitting on like $20 million in real estate. I thought I had done really good. I also had done a lot of business stuff. So in 2001, right at the .com crash, bear market, I started an e-commerce business. You guys talked about e-commerce, but back then there was no such thing as shopping carts. There was no Shopify. As a matter of fact, there was no one online to advertise to. So I was actually running ads in magazines, and I was the only .com in the entire magazine at the time. Everybody else was still mail order. If anybody's old enough to remember mail order, you actually had to cut it out and mail it in. And I went to these brands and I said, hey, I built this website and I want to sell your products. And they laughed at me. And they just said, no one will ever buy anything online. That's ridiculous. And I said, well, I think they will. And I built the website, and they're like, well, we won't even take your money. And so I tell you that because I've lived through this. Like, I've been through a technology cycle before. And it kind of makes me a little bit mad because I'd been investing already for a long time. I'm an entrepreneur. I had these businesses. I had the web development business. And I was investing in Amazon and these internet stocks back in the day, but I didn't really understand what was going on. I didn't understand how investing in a technology cycle is different than any other asset. And we'll get to that in a minute. But I had my businesses going, had a couple 7-figure businesses. I had a Fortune 500 exit, ended up selling off to a huge company, went bigger into real estate. And then 2008 came and I lost everything. And not only did I lose everything, I ended up millions of dollars in debt. So I went from thinking I was on top of the world. I hit every goal. I'm retired. I'm under 30 years old. I got, all this money. And next thing you know, I'm not only broke, I'm in debt and I don't even know what to do. And, at times like that, you can either run or fight, I guess. Right. And so I just, I decided, you know what, like, I got to figure this out. Like, I got to dig myself out of this hole, and I got to make sure this is never going to happen to me again. And so I started really educating myself. And what happened is I made a bunch of money and I thought I was really good, but I didn't have the educational foundation I needed to keep it. And that's why you see, 50 Cent made 60 million with vitamin water and then he's bankrupt. Because, you can make a bunch of money, but if you don't have that foundation, you won't keep it. And so that's where I was. I made a bunch of money. I thought I was smart, but I wasn't, and I lost it all. And so I started just pouring into my own education, buying financial newsletters, studying. And I learned a concept that was really simple, and it was that money is like energy. And what that means is it doesn't disappear, it transfers. And so that means when I lost all my money, somebody else received my money. And I was like, kind of mad about that. Like, and I'm like, and so I vow, I'm like, this will never happen to me again. I will never do that again. I am going to be on the receiving end next time. I'm going to dedicate my life to figuring out how to be on the receiving end of these wealth transfers. And so for the last decade, I've spent studying every market. A little bit more about me. My e-commerce business I started was a motocross business. I'm a dirt bike racer. I chase big waves all around the world, a little bit of an extreme athlete. So my investing is also extreme. I like to invest in what I call non-traditional assets, stocks, 401ks. I'm not into that. I like to go invest in gold mines. I like oil and gas fields. And I like cryptocurrencies. So I like non-traditional assets where I think we can get, above market returns. Fast forward until about 2015, I was trying to divert, just like any investor, you wouldn't want to put all your assets into any one asset class. Like I wouldn't put all my money into one stock, right? I would diversify it. And so I was learning this concept, like, I don't want my entire life in one country. Like, why do I want all my money in one country? What if something happens to the banking system here? So it happened in Cyprus around that time where Cyprus went bankrupt and they actually stole 50% of all the bank deposits. And so I was looking at setting up a bank in Hong Kong, a bank in Panama. And I figured, hey, I mean, it's all wire transfers and credit cards anyway. What difference does it make? And those banks are actually way better capitalized than US banks. So I was actually talking with an attorney, setting up a trust in Panama. And then I learned about Bitcoin. And I learned that Bitcoin is basically the same thing. It's a way for me to take money out of the US financial system and put it into a way that can't be seized, stolen, manipulated, et cetera. It was the exact same thing.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, perfect. So I started putting money into Bitcoin, and I didn't really think of it as an investment at that time. It was just like, this is like an offshore bank account kind of thing. But then I started to learn about, so there's so many different pieces to Bitcoin, and that's why it's hard for a lot of people to understand. So yeah, there's a technology side, there's a money side, but there's a political side, there's a philosophical side, there's an economic side, there's all these things. And as I started to learn more about it, and I really learned about how it's a way we can we can opt out of the system.
Yep.
If you're not happy about your money dropping bombs on people in the Middle East, if you're not happy about, all these things that are happening, then you don't have an option, but we do. Now we can opt out. And so I was like, man, I want to tell everybody I know about this. Like, I want everyone to know, because I want to usher this revolution. I looked at it as like a revolution, and I really wanted to usher that in. Right. And the best vote is a vote with our money. And so we just opt out of the system. So I really like that. And I really started getting into it. And so with my past of losing everything and having to rebuild myself, and being an investor in the internet days, but really missing the boat. I mean, I missed it. And I look back with some regret. I was a little bit too young. I didn't know what I was dealing with, but I do now. And I understand that investing in a technology cycle, there's 4 phases of adoption. And if you can understand how that works, it holds the key to being successful in this cycle, because I've lived it before. And so I just want to educate. I want to teach. I want to share. I want people to understand the revolution. I want people to understand not what Bitcoin or crypto is. I want them to understand why Bitcoin and crypto is important. And I want them to understand how to use it, how to invest in it, how to make money with it. I think there's this massive wealth transfer coming. I think it's going to be the largest wealth transfer that we'll ever see probably in 100 years. And I want to be on the right side of that transfer. And I want everyone else to be on the right side of that transfer as well. And so that's what I try and teach.
That's great, man. Your story, like, it got me so excited at like one part of it. I'm like, oh man, I got to get into this thing called crypto. I'm like, oh shit, I already been. That was good. That was a good story. That's a good way to like tell people about like the adoption and get like someone into it,
Well, I really like the point that you brought up about there's so many different sides to it. And like, I recently was I've been looking for a house. And so I was talking to a realtor the other day, and I was trying to explain to her, like, before I was full-time in crypto, I ran a rehab for teenage boys. That's what I did I've basically been doing that for about 10 years. And that was where my passion was, like helping people. And like, it's really hard to explain to people the transfer of my passion from doing that, because that, like, most people would look at that and be like, oh man, that's such a big thing you were doing, but I was only able to help like, a small amount of people. We had about 10 kids in the program, and over years I created a lot of great relationships, and it was a really good thing. But it's hard trying to explain the difference between that and like why I'm so passionate about crypto. They're like, yeah, it's like some kind of geeky, nerdy thing. And I'm just like, no, like, you don't understand the revolution that is laying right outside of crypto. And you bring up a lot of those points, the political side to it. There's also the wealth, redistribution side to it. There's a freedom aspect to it, that is basically breaking free from the chains that we've been held under for a while. I make this comparison all the time. I feel like the internet is comparable to the printing press, and the crypto revolution and removing the middleman and the banks from basically breaking our backs is similar to like when the Protestant Reformation happened, and there was no longer the control of the Catholic Church over the minds and the money of everybody. And so I kind of look at a huge revolution like that's coming, and it's so weird when I talk to people and they don't see it. I'm like, you can't see that this is coming. You don't understand what cryptocurrency is. I try to explain it to you, and they're like, it's a passing fad. And I just don't think they really understand all the stuff that's going on behind the scenes that we see every day. And it's almost like a lot of people are walking around with these blinders on, and for some reason, we've been like the chosen people, I guess you could kind of say, that for whatever reason, like, our blinders are off and we see it. And it's frustrating when you talk to people and they can't. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we see it all the time. like I said, I started this internet business in 2001, and I went to these brands and I said, I want to sell your products online. And they laughed in my face and told me no one would ever buy stuff online. So I've been there, man. Yeah. I've been there. I've done that. And it just made me think of this tweet that I just put out yesterday, I think. And I'm just going to pull it up real quick so I can just tell you a couple of points I don't remember off the top of my head. But I put out this tweet, and it was actually like a pretty long thread. And I talked about horses. And they actually had this. They actually had this epidemic in the 1850s where they thought, at the rate we're going, New York City and London will be under like 50 feet of manure. And then all of a sudden they had these like, no, seriously, it was like this big epidemic. And I put a picture of the newspaper on there and all these things. Oh, here it is. Okay, here. So it was 1898, and they had this urban planning committee in New York, and they said in 50 years, every street in London is going to be buried under 9 feet of manure. Wow. And it was called the Great Horse Manure Crisis of 1894. And then they had the horseless carriage come out. That was like the first car. And they said the dangers of cars are obvious. I'm reading this quote from a newspaper. Stores of gasoline in the hands of people interested primarily in profit would constitute a fire and explosive hazard of the first rank. Horseless carriages propelled by gasoline might attain speeds of 14 or 20 miles an hour, and the menace to our people and the vehicles of this type hurtling through our streets and along roads, poisoning the atmosphere, would call for prompt legislation. I mean, think about this, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm not going to read the whole thing, but then I went on to the CEO of Microsoft in 2007, quote, "There's no chance that the iPhone is going to get any significant market share." That was the CEO of Microsoft at the time. He's a plugged in guy. If anybody gets it, the CEO of Microsoft, and he said, there's no chance. Then you have here the co-founder of YouTube. He said, Steve Chen said, there's just not that many videos I want to watch. You have to
forcibly remove the phone from your eyes now because you want to watch everything.
You have this guy, Ken Olson, president of Digital Equipment Corporation. The president of a massive corporation said, quote, "There is no reason for any individual to have a computer in their home." So, what happens is we have this normalcy bias, right? We're so used to the way things are that it's hard for us to envision change. And really nobody can envision the future, because what we do is we envision a better version of what we have today. So, but really it creates new things that we couldn't ever imagine because we don't have the building blocks for those. And so an example of that was like when the internet first started coming, there was this famous guy, I forget what his name is, but he had this big thing saying, imagine this day where they think we're going to have these virtual meeting rooms and we're going to buy things online. That's ridiculous. But that was only imagine a better version. Nobody could have imagined that my car would be hooked to something called a cloud using something called social media to navigate me around traffic, because we didn't have all those building blocks, right? And so anyway, everybody misses it. The closest guys to it miss it. And we don't, I think some of us don't have that normalcy bias, or we're able to see past that. And of course, me having gone through the internet before and really missing out on that definitely lets me see it a different way. But I don't pretend to know where it's going to be. But what I do is I know what signs to look for. It's kind of like if I was given directions to drive somewhere, I don't know exactly how to get there, but if I know when I see each sign which way I should turn. Yeah. And so understanding how technology cycles adopt and move forward, it lets us know what signs to look for and then how to change like our investing thesis.
But it's funny because some people aren't like that when they go drive places, like some people, they want to know exactly, like sometimes me and my wife will go somewhere, and I'll be like, I basically know where I'm going. I'll go this way. And I know I can kind of figure it out as I go. But then there's other people that if they don't have that it in their iPhone, which by the way does have a huge market share, but if they don't have in their iPhone knowing exactly where to go, then they can't really get there. And that I think that's a pretty good metaphor for exactly what you're talking about. Some people, they have to see it to be able to conceive the future. But for us, it's kind of like, we're open. You just look at the iPhone's such a great example. We look how much that has changed. Everything, even something as simple as like, if you did something really crazy back in 2007 which is the year the iPhone came out, you were fine. Nobody knew. Now, if you do something crazy, the whole internet is going to see it. And that wasn't even a thing back then. So,
and think about it. That's I mean, like you said, your wife can't even go anywhere without her iPhone giving her directions, like how dependent we are. It's only been out for 10 years.
Exactly.
10 years.
100%.
And so what I find, especially in crypto, and it's frustrating for me, is that everybody, I just think, is expecting way too much, way too soon. Because what happens is, as humans, we overestimate what can be done in a short amount of time, but we underestimate what can be done in a long period of time. So, again, being in the early days of the internet, Amazon came out in 97, but by 2000, after the internet had been out for 10 years, only 10% of Americans had ever bought anything online. Really, we didn't even have the internet sales picking up till about 2005. And so that's like, a long time later. And then like the iPhone's like a perfect example. So, I mean, Bitcoin's been out for 10 years, but really kind of crypto assets as we know them, decentralized crypto assets, have been out for about 2 years. And so I just tell everybody, like, man, be patient. Like one of the big reasons why the internet took a while to take off is it was too slow. It would never scale. Yeah, you couldn't download all these things, right? And I'm like, we're hearing the same thing today. I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah, all those things will be fixed.
And then you look back. I was just having this conversation with somebody yesterday. I can't remember who it was, but we were looking back at all of those tech companies that popped. The Webvan, or Pets.com, or eToys. But the truth is, those people were way ahead of their time. That's all it was. They had such great ideas.
They were good ideas, yeah.
Now, granted, most of those rolled into Amazon. That's where you get your toys, where you get whatever. But like you look at the Webvan, like now Walmart has their own, delivery service. A lot of these places have their own delivery services. It was just ahead of its time because, it couldn't see the development. But now, they look like geniuses. But unfortunately, of course, it went under. So technology is so crazy.
There's two interesting points right there. So first of all, that's how technology. That's one of the phases of a technology adoption cycle, right? So what happens is a little plug. I have a 3-part video series on Market Disruptors YouTube channel that I go into this in depth, and there's like a PDF guide that has like color illustrations of the 4 periods. So if you want more, go check that out. But basically, what happens is, and we saw this in the automobile industry. There's been 5 tech revolutions in the last 200 years. We had steam engines, we had railways, we had the automobile in the 1900s. So in the automobile age, that was the new technology at the time. Henry Ford created like the assembly line, the first assembly line. And what happened is, within a couple of years, there was like 150 auto manufacturers, but then they all went bankrupt, and 3 remained, and they bought all the technology of all the bankrupt ones. And those 3 were Ford, Chrysler, and GM. Right. And then the internet age was exactly the same way, because all tech cycles follow the same thing. So you had all these internet companies, and they all went out of business. And what you just said, Amazon and other companies that made it bought up all that technology super cheap, and it consolidated down. And now we're about to see the same thing. We have 2,000 crypto assets, and most of them aren't going to make it. And the few that will gobble up whatever good pieces are there.
Yeah.
And so that's just one of the ways that these tech cycles work.
Yeah.
The other thing that I would say from an investor standpoint that you really want to pay attention to is you're really looking for companies that are doing something different that's native to the technology. So what happens is they're like, currently we can do this. So instead of doing it on the internet, I'll just put it on the blockchain. Well, that's not new. So we're looking for something that can't be done unless it has the new technology, right? Like Uber, for example, right? Uber had never been done before. There's no way Uber could have ever been done without the internet. And if you would have put $20,000 into Uber in the early rounds, you'd have $20 million today, right? So you're looking for those opportunities that are doing something that couldn't be done if it wasn't for that technology.
Yeah, that's crazy.
There's going to be, I'm excited to see the consolidation. When it's funny, we talked to John McAfee about this, and he had said, let there be as many as doesn't matter, right? But I think that we kind of disagreed with him about that, where it's like, we don't need 1 million privacy coins. Give me the top couple, right? We just don't need all these different things that are the same. Let's consolidate it and then move it forward.
Well, think about this. I think we can probably all relate to this, right? It's Christmas time, not now, but it was recently. It was Christmas time. And, you got to get gifts for people. And so you go to the store and you look around and you can't find what you want for somebody, and you always end up right in front of the gift card section. And in front of the gift card section, there will be hundreds, it seems like hundreds, maybe it's like 50. I don't know how many, but there's so many different gift cards. They're for different restaurants, they're for different sporting goods places, there's for, iTunes, whatever it is. And you sit there and you think like, okay, well, I want to get this for this person, but maybe they want something else. And you end up getting the Visa gift card or the Amazon gift card, because it gives them the ability to use that card to buy multiple things. And I think that's a great argument for where we look at the cryptocurrency space. Like, if we had 2,000 and everything is tokenized, then it gets so specific the way you have to transfer value from different cryptos back and forth. It just makes sense to have a few of them that are kind of like gift cards. You got Bitcoin, you can spend it at all these places, So
I'm going to
think,
create Bitcoin gift cards and put them in the shopping center.
I think history shows us different, right? So again, all the technology cycles follow this pattern. So what happens is you have this rampant, run up, and then you have the consolidation. So we had the automobile industry, we had 150 auto manufacturers, went down to 3. But today we have like 50 or 60.
Yeah.
Right. In the internet, we had, thousands of internet companies. Then we went down to the big 5 or 6. And today we have thousands, tens of thousands of internet companies. So you have the run up because the money gets ahead of the technology. It crashes down. Then the technology slowly catches back up. So I believe that eventually we'll have 10,000 crypto assets. I don't know. We'll have 100,000 crypto assets. I'm not going to put a number on that today. So we'll have this massive consolidation. But then eventually, 10 years, 20 years down the road, there's going to be tens of thousands of crypto assets. And I see a vision where, blockchain technology has created this token economy. Everything's tokenized. And I believe that this is a bigger topic that blows a lot of minds. It's hard to get into. I don't know if we want to get into all that right now. But
is it flat Earth? Flat Earth? Yeah.
No, just so we've, as adults, we've gone through this indoctrination, 12-year indoctrination program, and everything we've learned, we think money is like dollars. Mm-hmm. Right? But I have like a 4th grader, and I can tell you that 7 and 8-year-old kids, so money is a representation, it's a communication of value.
Yeah, exactly.
It's value. So you have an asset, something of value, and I want it. And so, hey, I want that asset. It's valuable to me. I will offer you my asset. Yes. Okay. Well, now we've said that my asset's worth the same value as your asset. Or, hey, I'll give you my labor. I'll build you that website that you need for your store, or I'll build a fence for you. So now my labor is communicating value, or I have dollars that communicate. So all of those things communicate value.
Pokemon cards.
And we're born knowing this, right?
Yeah.
The 6 and 7-year-old kids in elementary are trading lunch items.
Yeah.
They're trading Pokemon cards.
Yep.
And we see it in prison, right? They're trading cigarette. Like, it's inherent to human nature to know how to trade value. They've even done, there's experiments with chimpanzees where they learn to trade food for things, right? So, but we've now all of a sudden think that money is dollars, but it's not true. It's a communication of value, and it can be whatever I want it to be. It can be my labor. It can be at whatever. So what we have is we have this tokenized economy, and with projects like today, like Storage or Filecoin, I can tokenize my unused hard drive space.
Yeah.
I can tokenize my extra bandwidth. With OMG, I could tokenize my airline reward points or whatever. So already we're seeing, real estate be tokenized. We're going to have all the stocks tokenized, right? And I see this vision where money as we know it is kind of forever changed, and everything is tokenized. And just like the 6-year-old kids at school or the prisoners, we're just trading assets in real time. We're just trading value. And through the technology of these exchanges and the token economy, everything can just move seamlessly. So it's like a supercharged barter system, if you will.
Yeah.
And so
phenomenal.
I think money will always be there, but it will become like a small subset. Like maybe we'll use it for 10 or 20% of our transactions, but most of it is we're just exchanging value.
Yeah. And whoa, mind blown. And before the internet, that wasn't really possible. We'd moved to a place where, that wasn't possible because you're limited by your geographic location. But now we're not. And so, it makes sense. So basically what you're saying is that John McAfee's right and we're right. In the short term, there will be a consolidation and we will see projects fail. But then if we were to forecast maybe 10 to 15 years down the road, then we will probably have this fully thriving totally tokenized economy, and that's very interesting. I think I can vibe with that.
I think also you have to look at like what fail means, right? So like everybody's thinking, oh, we still need capitulation, and oh, we still need to wash out all these scam coins or whatever. But like, they're not gonna just go away. I mean, BitConnect is still traded for like 16 cents. Like, you know what I mean? Like BitConnect is still there, right? So like, I think it's like, they're going to fail, but like, they're not necessarily just going to go away. So we kind of have to think about it like that. But I think you're right. Yeah. Like that point you made, right? You're right. And McAfee's right. We're going to have a consolidation for sure. But then 10, 15 years down the road, it's going to be, I mean, just think about all the stocks, every equity will be tokenized. There's going to be tens of thousands right there.
Now, I want to ask you this because that's an idea that I've been seeing a lot, that stocks are going to be tokenized. What kind of effect would stocks being tokenized have on the cryptocurrency markets?
None really. I mean, I guess. So when you say the cryptocurrency market, I don't know what you really mean by that. Like the market.
Like if I put, if I pull up
Bitcoin.
If I pull up, basically, just will it affect, because they're still stocks? Will it affect the actual dollars in the crypto market? This is where things for me, like me personally, not coming from a financial background, just a person that's passionate about decentralization and have jumped in the community and I love it. I don't understand necessarily the logistics of the difference between the stock world and the crypto world. And when, stocks get tokenized, does that have anything to do with the actual crypto market cap? And you're saying that won't, but it probably would have an indirect effect.
Well, I mean, if CoinMarketCap puts it into their listing and it's in part of the CoinMarketCap into the market cap, then it does. But just because they add Facebook and Google into CoinMarketCap and now the market cap goes up to $1 trillion, does that mean Bitcoin and Ethereum go up? Not really, right?
Gotcha.
So they're independent of each other. But I think the stock market and the coins, they're very similar in a sense where they're traded in real time. The price is constantly finding equilibrium between buyers and sellers. The difference is that, with cryptocurrency, it's freely traded. And so that's a really big difference. There's this global marketplace where we can constantly trade, but with stocks, there's one exchange, NYSE, right?
You don't foresee that changing though, because
I do. So we've already seen over the last like 5-10 years, we had like 10,000 publicly traded companies, and today we're down to about 5. So we've already seen a massive drawdown on companies that go public that are on NASDAQ and NYSE. Right. So we've already seen a massive drawdown, and there's reasons. So part of the reason is because the regulations are so bad that people just are like over it. And then a lot of people are just going like the private route. So a lot of those companies will not go listed the regular way, and they're going to go to a security offering. And it's still going to be a stock. It's still owning shares of Microsoft, but now I have it as a token. But the difference is now I can trade tokens on the lunchroom table with anybody. You got a wallet here? Let me send you Microsoft. And that changes the market, because now instead of like I can only do it on the NYSE and they're only open 6 hours a day, 5 days a week, closed for holidays, now it's like a crypto asset. So it'll change it from that perspective.
Well, I have so many questions. I feel like most of the time we get people on the show and we're like bantering back and forth and it's good. And,
sorry,
the audience,
no,
the audience is learning something, but we're like, oh yeah, we know this guy, we know what's going on. But man, I feel like I'm learning so much right now and I've got so many questions. So I want to ask you this question about STOs. So once you have the STO and you were talking about, you can transact it back and forth with wallets. But my understanding from what I've seen with STOs that have already been out is that to actually be part of the, I guess, investing round, you have to be what do they call it? Not a verified investor. An accredited investor, which means I think you have to have at least $100,000 or something similar.
$300,000 a year, $1 million of net assets, not including your home. So you're basically in the 1%, right? So you have to be a 1%er to do that, to be accredited. However, there's different requirements. So there's like a Reg A plus, there's a Reg A, and there's a Reg B. So like Reg A is like under the Jobs Act. So that's like crowdfunding, like Kickstarter. So like I could do like a Reg A plus, and I'm not, I don't want to confuse these. I'm not 100%, but I think on like a Reg A plus, I could raise up to like $1 million, and then and there's like no completely non-accredited. So there's definitely room, and then I can go, I think, to a Reg D. Don't butcher me if I'm wrong. I'm not a securities attorney, but I think a Reg D, I can go up to like 50 million a year of non-accredited investors. So there is ways for non-accredited investors to get into. The companies just have to do it the right way. And not that I'm a fan of it. I think the whole credited thing is a big scam, right. But there is ways for people to do it without having to get that accredited investor in.
Well, one of the biggest, I believe, Reg A investors ever was Bob Marley. We jamming, man. Right?
I love Uncle Bob.
I knew something like that was coming from you, man.
How did you know?
One thing, so my whole thing is like, I always try and talk about not what is Bitcoin. I talk about why, right? So everyone's going to tell you, oh, Bitcoin's slow. Bitcoin can't scale. So, okay. So why would I use it even though it sucks? Well, because it's better in some areas, right? It's censorship resistant. It's immutable. So I'll take the slower speed to have the immutability, right? So then you have to look at stocks. Stocks are fine. Why would we need to tokenize them? No, they're not fine. You don't understand why, right? So the way stocks work, I'll just give you a real skim on this, is ridiculous. So basically, I have to buy stocks of Facebook or whatever through a brokerage account like E-Trade or Charles Schwab. So when I buy them, I don't own those shares. Charles Schwab puts a thing on their ledger that I'm owed shares, but they don't have the shares.
Yeah, you don't own them, right?
And then someone owes those shares, and there could be 5 or 10 people in that chain that all are owed shares that eventually maybe get to me. And what happens is, as you can imagine, this is a huge inefficient system. Imagine trying to keep up 10 ledgers is never good. But it was famous in this Dole Foods case where Dole was going to go private. And what they found is when they did all the records is that there was actually 33% more people that said they owned Dole shares than there were actually Dole shares. And so they dilute the stock. And like, how simple would it be if a company could just go public, send me a token, I own it, it can't be duplicated, it's not, it can't be censored, and like, it's just one-on-one, and I can just trade this stock with you. Like, how ridiculous is this stock system? Now, of course, when it happened in the 20s, they didn't have a better way to do it. Right. But we have a better way today, and so we should do that. So that's the why security tokens. Just to go into that. Sorry.
Yeah. I'm just mesmerized, man. I feel like I was in a class today. This was amazing.
You said you want to do entertainment, or not? No, I do entertainment. You want to do education. I do edutainment. You do education. I feel like I have been educated fully.
Yeah, and my channel is super boring because all I do is teach.
No, that's good, man, because people got to learn this stuff. Yeah. Like, I'm in this every day, but everything I heard from you, man, it's like new stuff.
Well, there's just some things, there's some intricacies to this that the common person in crypto, which me and Jay Chains, we're common people,
We're
just beards and Bitcoins over here. Like,
there's like other topics too, where like, like a big one that we're battling in the US right now. So a lot of people in the US, like, we have this bias because like I'm in the United States, like, oh, my government's good. My banks are good. And so like Bitcoin, we can have a right to privacy, but like people in the US are like, why do I need privacy? Like, I have nothing to hide. I need no privacy. Yeah, well, that's in the US. Well, first of all, I would argue with that. But second of all, if you're in like Iran or like Afghanistan, you have a whole different thought about that, right? And so we have to remember this is a global thing. And so just because you're in the US and you don't see it doesn't mean the rest of the world's not affected by that. And so that's what I think is important too. And so like I have a video dropping tomorrow on Market Disruptors, and it's about trust. And I'm talking about Bitcoin is trustless. I'm sure you guys have heard that. But before we go into that, I have to say, what is trust? Why is trust important in society? What happens to a society when trust breaks down? Who do we trust today? The institutions, the banks, Facebook. How does Facebook failed us? How has Wells Fargo failed us? And now Bitcoin is the solution to give us a trustless environment. So you kind of have to tell people why. And it's kind of like philosophy. It's a philosophical debate. Why do we need privacy? We don't need privacy. Yes, we do, right?
I tell my audience, there's definitely a segment of the population that wants privacy because they are trying to do underhanded things. Like, that's a segment, that exists for sure. But for the rest of us, it's like you get in this mindset of thinking like, oh, well, I don't really care who sees what. However, what's illegal today, or what is legal today may be illegal tomorrow. And it might be something, maybe it's a church that you go to, or maybe it's, something that you buy, or maybe it's, something today that they don't consider a drug, tomorrow they consider it a drug, like caffeine, maybe, who knows?
And it's not just that, but like our country is so divided today that whether you're pro-life or pro-choice, someone's going to be mad on either side you're on. Whether you're Republican or Democrat, if you're a Democrat, Republicans may discriminate. If you're a Republican, Democrat, like no matter which side you take, somebody is going to be on the opposite side. And so you have a right to privacy, but it goes deeper than that. So what happens is, when I'm worried about someone infringing in my privacy, then I have to start watching what I say and do.
Yep.
And when I start watching what I say and do, I start changing the way I think. Mm-hmm. And over time, it completely stifles free thought, creativity, originality, because I'm constantly censoring my thoughts, so I censor my actions so I don't get caught, and it'll completely ruin a society. We have to have the right to privacy, and so anyway, again, it's a philosophical debate.
Well, awesome. Jay Chains is over there just shaking his head like.
I love. There's a quote from Edward Snowden that I really love, and he says that the people that say we don't need a right to privacy because I have nothing to hide, that's like saying I don't need a freedom of speech because I have nothing to say.
Yeah. Well, that's a great quote. And I also have a great quote. I think Jay Chains knows a joke is coming. The famous Edward Scissorhands said, "Hey, it's time. We got to cut this off." So
already,
yeah, it's been time. Mark, this has been a phenomenal episode. This is our best episode we've done by a long shot. I think so. We definitely want to.
I'm glad I could get on before Pomp then.
Exactly. So we definitely want to have you back on. I don't know, maybe, and we didn't even get to talk about what I want to talk about with you, so we definitely want to have you back on. Maybe in March or April we can get you back on and we can continue this conversation, because I think it's been very enlightening for us. And if it's been enlightening for us, then I know it's been enlightening for our audience for sure. So, but thank you so much for coming on. Do you want to tell everybody where they can find you out one more time?
Yeah, again, if you like this kind of content, I got tons of it. Go to YouTube, search Market Disruptors. I have a 3-part series on this this technology cycle and how it's a wealth transfer with like a PDF download. So if you like to learn more how you can learn to use that wealth transfer or that tech cycle, check that out. And then on all the socials, #1 Mark Moss. That's it.
Dang. You want to say?
Dang, it's right. That was great, man. I'm really glad that we had this conversation, and I do look forward to talking to you again, man, because I learned a lot and I'm ready to learn some more.
Well, whenever your next guest, flakes out on you and you guys don't know what to do, just call me up, because I'm always down to have a good conversation.
Cool, yeah, man. I love it. Well, Jay Chains, you want to send us out, bud?
Hey, it's been a fun week. Thanks again to Huddle Fuel, again, huddlefuel.com, and Monarch, monarchtoken.io. It's been a great week. Thanks again, Mark, for being on the show. BitBoy, see you next week, buddy.
All right, we'll see you guys.
See you.
Well, that's it for this week. Thanks for listening to Beards and Bitcoins. If you like what you heard, show these guys some love and rate review on SoundCloud or iTunes. Also, remember, you can always find the guys on social media. The show Twitter page is @BeardsBitcoins. You'll find direct links to BitBoy and J-Chains from there. Make sure you check for updates, announcements, and contests. Good luck to all who enter. See you next time.